Welcome to H2K Infosys. H2K Infosys is a e-verify business based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. We provide 100% job-oriented, instructor-led, face-to-face, true live online software training programs. It also includes access to Cloud Test Lab with software tools. We provide live project for you to work on. We also provide assistance with mock interviews, resume preparation and review, and job placement assistance. H2K Infosys is trusted by so many students across the world. H2K Infosys provides world-class services in IT training with real-time project work for corporates and individuals, special IT training for MS students in the United States, software design, development, QA manual and automation, performance testing and maintenance, IT staff augmentation, job placement assistance, and tech support.
Model view controller framework. You already aware of what each component will be going to do and what all the components comes under model, and in the same way view and controller. So Spring also has its own MVC framework. So Spring MVC framework will be going to, so I won't be dealing with I won't be starting again with MVC framework. We are directly going into Spring MVC. Spring MVC, it uses lot of components. They are dispatcher servlet, handler mapping, controller, model and view, view resolver, and view. So these are the components that are used by our Spring MVC framework. So we'll see later which component will fit under model and which component will come under view or controller. The entire Spring framework will be going to depend on these 6 components. And of course, one other stuff which is our XML file, Spring.Beans.xml file, or currently we are in web framework, so make it as Spring Servlet.xml file. So the dispatcher servlet is just like your action servlet. So Spring also follows front controller pattern. Front control pattern, we didn't discuss what is meant by front controller pattern during our first discussion. Front controller pattern is nothing but there will be only one servlet, one central servlet, which will be going to handle all the client requests and forward the request based on URL pattern. So front controller, nothing but up front there will be only one servlet which will be going to receive all the requests. The front controller pattern is a common web application pattern, and all MVC frameworks, most MVC frameworks, they'll follow the front controller pattern. The reason for that is the framework wants to receive all the requests and want to control the request handling. So the front control pattern is required for our Spring MVC framework as well. So here with our Spring MVC, dispatcher servlet follows the front controller pattern, and dispatcher servlet is the one which will be going to receive all the requests. So once after it has received all the requests, your dispatcher servlet, just like your action servlet receiving all the requests, and taking a look at your struct config.xml file and identifies the corresponding action based on the URL. But here in your dispatcher servlet, from your dispatcher servlet, it will be going to call a handler mapping. Handler mapping is nothing but which will be going to maintain all the request URLs to controllers, or you can say those are nothing but actions. So your dispatcher servlet will be going to contact the handler mapping. Handler mapping, as the name suggests, mapping, which will be going to maintain a map consisting of all the request URLs to your controller. Your controller is the one, just like your struct action, controller is the one which performs actual business logic. See, until this point, kind of same only with respect to your struct. Your servlet receives the request, and instead of verifying struct config.xml file, there is one another class which is handler mapping available, and the handler mapping will be going to contain all your request URLs to controller. And your controller is the one which performs actual business logic. But unlike struct, which creates a separate thread for each client request, your Springs MVC, or you can say your dispatcher servlet, because your dispatcher servlet is the one will be going to take a look at handler mapping and identify to which controller it was supposed to send the request. So your dispatcher servlet will create a new instance. So that means for each request, it will instantiate your controller and will be going to create a new request. But in your struct framework, it will create only one single request, one single instance, and it will create those many threads that are required by the client. See, we are already aware of MVC framework, that's why I'm directly dealing with all the components that are required for our MVC framework. I'm just explaining these 6 elements briefly. I'll be going to discuss again one by one. Model and view. Your controller is nothing but just like your action, which will be going to perform your business logic. So once after dispatcher servlet identifies the controller, so your dispatcher servlet will be going to identify the controller, because you will be going to contain a lot of controllers, and your handler mapping decides which controller to call, and once it has provided the controller, so it will hand over the request to your controller. So once your controller has processed the business logic, let us say your controller has performed the login validation kind of stuff, and once it has performed the validation, it will be going to respond with a model and view object. Model and view object. As the name suggests, it consists of information about your model nothing but your actual data which needs to be displayed onto view, and it also consists of information about your view. That means it just consists of your logical name of view. Let us say you want to display, once after processing your business logic, you want to forward the login information to login success.jsp. So just like how you have a string with respect to your struct action, here also you will be going to contain a string and will be going to call that as a logical name. So once you have returned the logical name, here you will be going to return both You will be going to return your model and you will be going to return your view. Both you are going to return. When you have returned both to your dispatcher servlet, the dispatcher servlet, based on the logical name, it will take the logical name and it will ask the view resolver to provide the actual view to be resolved and displayed to the user. So when it has returned a logical name, your string or your dispatcher servlet will be going to ask another component, which is view resolver. So your view resolver will be going to provide the actual response page, and your model layer will be going to available. Your model layer will be available for your view page, and you can just make use of any of your JSTL tag libraries, or you can use string tag libraries, and you can display the data. And final component is your view, which is nothing but your index or login success.jsp page. So here we have introduced one more new component, and you can see view resolver also one more new component, and the next one is handler mapping. That is also another component. So dispatcher servlet is just like your action servlet, controller is just like your action. And the handler mapping, which is used to maintain a map of your URL patterns to the controller. And the next one is model and view. Model and view, which is a response from your controller. So the model and view, as the name suggests, model consists of your actual data information and view consists of your logical name of the view. The logical name will be used by your dispatcher servlet to identify the view to be displayed onto the front end, and it will be going to contact the view resolver to identify the view. The last one is your view. You already familiar. View is nothing but your JSP page. So your Spring MVC framework depends on only these 6 components, and along with that, it will depend on your web.xml configuration or your dispatcher servlet, and in the same way, your XML bean configuration. So, did you guys download Spring jar from the specified location? Did you guys download that? Okay. When you guys have downloaded, it's the 3.x version, right? 3.x version. 3.x version was released recently, you can say 1 or 2 years back only. And before that, we are having 2.x version. So, what these guys have done is they have enhanced lot of the things, like they have enhanced your MVC framework and they have incorporated REST-based services. So your Spring MVC framework can also work like a REST-based service. REST-based service is nothing but it's also a type of web service. So in web services session we have discussed about SOAP-based web services, and the next one is REST-based web service. So your MVC framework supports REST-based services. So we'll take a look at REST-based services with respect to our MVC framework. 2.x version, it was not much annotation driven, but 3.x it was annotation driven. So you don't need to configure a lot of stuff with respect to your XML file. It's a lot, because configuring XML files, and you will definitely miss some kind of configurations, and you won't be able to identify what kind of configuration that got missed based on exception message, and it will be going to take a lot to identify the issue. So they have introduced annotation driven. So annotations you guys already aware. We just need to place annotations directly inside our action classes or controller classes. So your Spring will be going to read all the annotation based classes and it will be going to maintain the list of URL mapping to the controllers. Let me show a diagram. So just only we have discussed about those 6 components. So this is how actually those components will be going to interact. At first, the client request will be going to received by your dispatcher servlet, just like your action servlet. Remember, your dispatcher servlet needs to be configured in your web.xml file, and it was supposed to start on, you need to set up a parameter load on startup. So once you have specified that, it will be going to read your beans XML file and it will be going to maintain all list of beans. Next one. Once the dispatcher servlet has received the request, it will contact the handler mapping. The handler mapping, which will be going to maintain the URL pattern to the controller object. So here I have placed only one controller. It will be going to contain several controllers. Controllers are nothing but which are used for business logic handling. So our right side, our model layer. So once handler mapping has invoked and identified the controller object, the dispatcher servlet will be going to create an instance of that particular controller object and it will be going to contact the controller or it will be going to delegate the request to controller. So from controller, you guys already aware like what kind of stuff we are supposed to do. Contact your database or configure DAO or get the processor information. So on right side, there won't be any change. So model layer, you can decide based on your needs. You can contact EJBs also. You can configure contacting your processor, which will in turn contact your DAO and database. So once everything has set up on the right side, and once you got the response at the controller level, the controller will be going to respond back to the dispatcher servlet with a model and view object. The model and view object consists of information about your model nothing but your actual data that needs to be displayed onto the view, and it also consists of information about your view. So it also consists of the logical name of your view, which will be going to used by your dispatcher servlet, and your dispatcher servlet contacts view resolver to identify the actual view. So that means once model and view object responded back to the dispatcher servlet, the dispatcher servlet contacts view resolver or it will be going to take a look at the view resolver object information and identifies the view to be displayed. So once it has identified the view to be displayed, it will forward the control to the respective view, and the view has the capability of getting the information from the model and it will be able to display the data finally. This is how your Spring MVC will be going to work. Are you guys able to follow? Did you say earlier that it will create another instance of dispatcher servlet? No. I didn't say another instance of dispatcher servlet. Instance of control. Dispatcher servlet, only one instance. That's why we are loading in web.xml, right? Whenever you have loaded some kind of servlet in web.xml, it will create only one instance, but for each client request, it will be going to create separate thread. Our basic servlet concept. Are you guys fine with the life cycle?
Krish?
Yeah.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
Priyanka.
Yeah. Krish, I didn't understand this. Why do we need this new resolver and like the separate components? Like,
Oh, it's like a separate class only. It will be going to make.
you can mute me, Krish. Problem if you're
Oh,
getting
yeah.
some disturbance.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. See, here previously, if you guys remember, like from our action class, we are responding back with a string, and string will be used to resolve to a particular JSP page. The reason why we have used string instead of actual JSP page is we can have the option of sending it to a success JSP page, or we have the option of sending it to a error JSP page, and if at all if there are any exceptions, we have the option of sending it to a global exception page. So here also the same way, but here instead of dispatcher servlet taking a look at your Springs.XML file and forwarding it to the view, the dispatcher servlet now it is not doing anything. It is just asking the view resolver to find out the view to be displayed. And there is one more definite reason why we are going for view resolver. We'll come to know once we have entered into the coding. Previously, our action servlet talks to request processor and performs all the work. But here, what they have done is dispatch the servlet, which will be going to contact directly all the individual components instead of directly talking to only one component like request processor. Is that fine, Priyanka? From action class or from controller, we have the option of sending either success or failure. See, here view resolver or handler mapping, whatever these two are extra components. So they are just like the class files that are available with respect to our Spring framework. So it's not exactly a component that will be going to fit in our MVC mode. So you can take these two as helper classes for your dispatcher servlet. Now, what are the advantages of introducing the additional layers than MVC struct? Yeah, we'll come to know that. Once we have entered into the coding, then we'll come to know one by one. Now, currently we have mentioned that even for our core framework also, it will be going to depend on one XML file, Spring.beans.xml file. So in the same way, your Spring MVC framework also depends on one XML file, the configuration XML file, which will be going to contain all your beans definition. And we have mentioned that currently we'll be going to use annotation based. So we are not going to configure any kind of stuff inside your beans.xml file. And let us say we'll be going to use Spring Hibernate as well, or Spring JDBC module, or let us say we are using some other modules, like currently we are using Spring Servlet, MVC related stuff, web related. Let us say we want to use context related module also. But whatever the module that we are using, each and every module requires a configuration file. Either you can create a single file and place all your required configuration information in one single XML file, or you have the option of writing separate XML files. And then you have the option of writing separate XMLs based on your layer. Let us say for that layer, you want to use servlet.xml file. And for your service layer, which will perform the business logic kind of stuff, let us say we want to use training service.xml file. For your data layer, the Hibernate or Springs.The kind of stuff, you want to use data.xml file. So each and every stuff, each and every layer will be going to contain some set of beans, and you need to configure each and everything with respect to your module. So, and there is one another reason why we need to divide the beans based on the modules. Let us say later after some time you want to replace training data.xml, which you are using for IVADIS kind of stuff. You want to replace it with Hibernate, or else you want to replace with top link. So at that time, it's not required for you to touch other two layers. You can just replace the data layer, training data.xml file, which is for IVADIS, and you can replace directly with training underscore data hyphen Hibernate.xml file. So you have the option of that. But remember, whenever your dispatcher servlet is loading on the startup, it will only load one XML file, which is training servlet.xml file. To load remaining two XML files, you need to specify one parameter called
So many of our students have given testimonials on how our training programs are. You will find them on kudzu.com and on our website h2kinfosys.com. On our website h2kinfosys.com, you will also find more detailed information on who we are, the courses that we offer, what each course covers. Also, if you're interested in a demo program, please register on our homepage on the left-hand side. Just give us more information about yourself and we will send you a link for a demo class. The demo class is absolutely free. Experience our commitment by just attending an orientation workshop at no cost. Our team of faculty and advisors are here to guide you with the right information. If you still have more questions, please feel free to call us. Call us at 770-777-1269. This is a United States number. If you're calling from the UK, call us at 020-337-17615. You can also email us at training@h2kinfosys.com or h2kinfosys@gmail.com. Thank you for watching our videos. We wish you a great career in information technology.